Today's been really good. A couple of the key take-homes is understanding our nozzle selection and using our nozzles at the correct pressures. Now, another take-home was just simply looking at our boom height. So some real basic things that we probably overlook. So to be refreshed on that stuff's really good.
I wasn't aware of how much effect different surfactant has on your viscosity and your pH and how much that changes the wettability of the chemical and your droplet size and how that will affect your pressures. Like you'll drop back from an extra coarse back to a coarse, so that has a massive effect, especially when you're working with ester.
So these nozzles all get their ratings by testing with water. That can be misleading. What happens when you put a tank mix in them, they usually fine up. So the Hardy Injet at 4 bar, this is rated as very coarse. You can still see that generates quite a few fines. Remember, we're only spraying water at this point. Now I'm going to add some on coarse at 0.25%. This is the Hardy Injet O2. Remember, our very coarse nozzle rated with water goes through to near medium with a tank mix. We're going to bring this back to very coarse as the on-course primes through the system.
I've learned a couple of things. So I always was under the impression that a air induction nozzle sped up the spray, but it's actually the opposite. I also learned that on our first lap, we probably should do something about our very last jet, just to get our rate 100%. And just the whole spray plan that they're going through at the moment, that's just next level.
Lots of good takeaway messages, boom height, selecting the right nozzles, and also these adjuvants that we can put in with our sprays to also minimise drift.
So on-course isn't just a drift-reducing adjuvant, it's an adjuvant you'd use to make your herbicide work better. One that's developed with viscoelasticity, whereas most surfactants act on dynamic surface tension. On-course won't have this fining up issue.
More science behind each jet and how they work. It's always good to learn more about it and learn that there's other options coming out.
It's just so important to be up to date with all the changes that are occurring in nozzle technology and spraying technology, as well as what's legally required of us around labels. Well, it's reinforced a lot of stuff. There have been label changes around 2,4-D and the nozzle size, nozzle selection, boom height. They're basic things that actually can save you a lot of issues with drift and can also actually make sure that what you're paying for in a chemical drum hits the target that you're wanting to kill.
And spraying with fines also, of course, if you're spraying into a stubble, you've got risk of that trajectory, that horizontal trajectory. The stubble's going to pick up some of that chemistry. It's not going to get to ground. You're spraying with preems. You want it to get down between that standing stubble with a vertical trajectory, and you're much more likely to achieve that with a coarser spray quality. So taking fines out of that situation means you're getting more chemistry to the ground, and that's where you want it to work.
We've got a legal requirement to keep it in our paddock anyway, but so important that it actually hits the target and we utilise what we're putting in the boom spray tank.
And none of us want to end up in court. None of us want to take out our neighbour's whole crop.
The spray is the one piece of equipment that we're using all year. Chemicals and the application is a really big part of it, and it is getting quite complex, to be honest. So I think it's really great to have these workshops.
I just need to come along to these days so that I can pass on the information to our spray operators, picking the right times of the day with all the inversions and the off-target sort of damage that can happen. Select the right products the right days, and we're checking wind speed.
I think probably the take-home message is the influence of your chemical mixes and what that does to your droplet size. And at the end of the day, the most important bit is probably the cheapest part of the machine, and that's the nozzles. Understanding what nozzles you put in your $1 million spray is pretty important.
Well, good thing about today, it gives you some tools to be able to use, having some things that you can actually use to work out whether it is safe to spray or what your buffer zone needs to be.
So there's a lot to spraying. It's a very complex process. You've got to consider a lot of things: the weather, the terrain you're spraying over, the crop, what the neighbours have got planted. And you want to think, if I'm following the label, I'm doing the best I can. But if you're putting on course in that mix, you know you're going a lot closer, and you're doing a great job, in as good a job as you can.